to what used to be the status quo, because in my dicastery, for instance, we have a secretary, Sister Alessandra Smerilli, who is a woman, who is a religious, a nun, who is a secretary, and I'm a priest under secretary, and we work very well. So it's not about me or about us. It's about Christ. It's about assisting the Pope in moving things forward. And I think once we understand that, every other thing, because the power that the Curia exercises is a vicarious power from the Pope. Now, when you talk about vicarious power and the whole issue of power of governance, as a canon lawyer, I won't bore you with that. So I don't think it would be necessary. But it's still a perennial problem. When you talk about what we call the power of governance, or the jurisdictional power, and the exercise and the possibility of lay people exercising that power.
Right.
It's all complicated. And Predicate Evangelium hasn't really resolved it.
All right, well, here we are in Rome with the For Pete's Sake podcast. I'm your host, Charlotte Twetton, and I'm here today with Monsignor Ekpo. He's worked for many years in the Vatican Secretariat of State, and he was named Undersecretary of the Vatican Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development in 2023. And as he continues to do excellent work for the Vatican, he also teaches at various pontifical universities throughout Rome, and he also writes various books on Vatican life. His most recent book, The Roman Curia, uncovers the ins and outs of the mystery of the Roman Curia. Monsignor Ekpo, welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for that very wonderful welcome. Thank you.
And your most recent book is so interesting because it dives into, the history, the theology, the organization that is the Roman Curia.
Yes.
And I was raised Catholic. I went to a Catholic college, and I now work for an organization that focuses on the Vatican. And I swear I don't quite know what the Roman Curia is still, or what it does. If you were to explain in simple terms to a 5-year-old what the Roman Curia is and what it does, what would you say? How would you go about doing that?
Well, I would think of a school and a school principal. And every school has a principal. And the principal is the one who runs everything. But he also has, or she also has a secretary, the janitor, the teachers, and other people who assist him in running the school. So, the Pope is like a principal of the Catholic Church. So, but he has a team of experts and people who assist him in solving the church's problem throughout the world. So I see it like that the Pope is the principal, is the overall boss. He runs the Catholic Church, but he needs this group of people who assist him to work efficiently and take care of the Catholic Church, as which is his major responsibility. So that's how I would explain it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Although I guess a lot of people sort of get confused as to what's the Vatican, what's the Curia. There's all these names.
Yes.
People just use them, I feel like, interchangeably. They just sort of go the Vatican vaguely, or the Curia vaguely, or the Pope vaguely, or, I don't know. What's the different subsections there, if you were to spell it out? Are there 3 or are there 4?
When you talk about the Vatican, you're talking about what we call the handkerchief of land, which was established in 1929. Saying that the Vatican City State, which is the handkerchief of land, St. Peter's Square and the Vatican Gardens, is just that small territory. That the Pope is the leader, he's the head of state in this very small piece of land. When you talk about the Roman Curia, you're talking about the institutions that help assist the Pope in his pastoring, the universal, because we see him as the universal pastor of the church. So the various departments that there are in the Roman Curia assist the Pope in his work of shepherding the flock entrusted to him as Peter as the head of the church, and so that's the Roman Curia. But you also have the Holy See. Now, the Holy See is a moral entity. It's a kind of a juridic entity that pre-existed the Vatican City State, the Vatican City State. And when you talk about the relationship, diplomatic relationship we have with various countries, it's not diplomatic relationship with the Vatican, it's a diplomatic relationship with the Holy See. Now, the Holy See is recognized at the UN level, international level, as a moral entity. So we participate in international gathering meetings of the international organizations and countries, but we don't have the right to vote. So we have diplomatic relations with over 180 something countries, and we have apostolic nuncios. So they wear two hats. One is that they represent the Pope for the local church in every country. And then secondly, they serve as the representative of the Holy See in their diplomatic and political relationship with their particular country. So, but there are countries that we don't have any diplomatic relationship with. So there you only have what we call the apostolic legate, who is, like the nuncio. He only has ecclesiastical, which is church's role, but doesn't have that diplomatic relationship role. So the title is usually the apostolic legate and not the apostolic nuncio. The Holy See, the Vatican or the Vatican City State or the Roman Curia, they're three different things. They are related because, of course, if the Vatican City State wants to make any input at the international level, it goes through the Holy See. And the Holy See is mainly, the Secretariat of State and in some sense some curial organs. And I think in my book I took time to kind of explain, because I didn't know, to kind of realize there are a lot of things I didn't know about the Curia. And 6 years into my time at the Roman Curia. And it all started when I was asked to teach a course in a university in Leuven. So I was kind of scrambling to kind of get things when I arrived here in 2015 to study initially. Before I was asked to work in the Secretariat of State the following year. There are a lot of kind of rumors that people were kind of sharing that the Roman Curia was invented by Satan to show God the enormity of the havoc he can cause the church, or that nothing gets done. A little baby that was picked up around St. Peter's Square, and someone said, it must be a baby of one of those who work in the Roman Curia.
Wow.
Yeah, and then some Monsignor, very elderly Monsignor, turned up and said, "No, I don't think it." And people were like, "How you speak with authority? What do you mean?" And he said, "I have a couple of reasons." He said, first of all, a baby is the fruit of love between two people. So, but in the Roman Curia, there is no love. So there is no love in the Roman Curia. And secondly, to produce a baby, you need 9 months. And he says nothing gets done within 9 months at the Roman Curia. He said, with this, I can assure you that this baby is not a product of anybody who works in the Roman Curia. And so, I mean, these are humorous stories.
Yeah.
Most of these stories are untrue.
Yes.
But I didn't know anything, and I discovered a lot. The relationship between these three entities, so to speak, the Vatican, the Roman Curia, and the Holy See. They're different, but they're related. But sometimes we use them interchangeably, but they're not the same. So
Right.
I learned a lot researching into that. And I was very careful in my book separating them and highlighting their differences and their similarities.
Yeah, because it is so confusing, because you sort of think, like, okay, the Holy See has these diplomatic powers, and it's a spiritual, organization. Okay, the Vatican is the physical place.
Yes.
Okay, the Roman Curia is not,
the physical structures.
yeah, and not making babies. But
Yeah.
it's but the there's overlap where there's some dicasteries that probably deal with both.
When you talk about the Holy See, the Secretariat of State, which is also part of the Roman Curia,
Right.
comes to mind.
Yeah.
The Secretariat of State, for instance, you have 3 sections. The first section is called the Section for General Affairs. So they assist the Pope in the everyday running of things. So if the Pope wants, a cafe latte, they prepare cafe latte immediately. Do translation, interpreting for the Pope. If the Pope needs an interpreter, like I did for 7 years, because I was working in the Anglophone section, the English language section. So I was involved in doing in translating for the Pope when we have heads of state. So a particular issue needs to be discussed by various or different organs of the Roman Curia. The first section, which is headed usually by the substitute, that name in English sounds very unfortunate. It's not, because the substitute is just like a reserved person. No, he's anything but a substitute. The interdicasterial meetings.
Okay.
For instance, if you're talking about artificial intelligence and how the Holy See can respond to it, and of course, the artificial intelligence, which is a reality is unfolding before our eyes, has a doctrinal aspect, and you need the input of the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith. It has a social aspect. That's where our own dicastery for promoting integral human development, especially how AI affects work. It has an educational, cultural aspect, and then you need the dicastery for culture and education. It has evangelization, if you like, aspect. You need the dicastery. So the Secretariat of State, when there is an interdicasterial issue to be sorted out, which is the section for relations with states and international organizations. So they deal with political issues of countries, and so he is the head of the church, Peter, but he's also the head of state. So the Pope is both a prophet and a diplomat. I don't know if you've heard about that quintessential definition of diplomacy is finding a very nice way to tell people to go to hell that they look forward to the trip. So there you go.
And the Secretariat of State helps them do that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's their whole goal.
And then going back to what I was saying before, the third section is a section that looks after our diplomatic personnel. So, of course, we have priests and bishops who are diplomats, like nuncios and the chargés d'affaires and secretaries to the nunciatures who are scattered throughout the world. So that section looks after them in terms of their retirement, health insurance, and other issues. Yeah. So these are the 3 sections of the Secretariat of State, which is the kind of the engine house of our diplomatic relations.
So it encompasses it has aspects that have to do with the Holy See. It has aspects
that has to do with the Roman Curia. Yeah.
So it's both.
It's
really,
both.
Yeah. Because the dicasteries are all involved as well.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So it covers a lot.
It covers a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot of work. In your time there, did it ever feel like the Secretariat of State was doing everything?
They kind of like the clearing ground, where people bring a lot of things, but then they direct the traffic. They're involved in directing the traffic. Of course, sometimes when people don't know which dicastery to go to resolve a particular issue, they write the Secretariat of State, or they send a letter to the Pope through the Secretariat of State. Then the Secretariat of State, we say, this falls within the competence of Dicastery B or Dicastery A. And by the way, the dicastery is the posh word for department. Was imported from Greek, and it simply means a department, a government department.
That was changed in 2022?
Yes, with Predicate Evangelium, because in the past you used to have congregations. Then you have pontifical councils and everything, and I think the Pope wanted to emphasize the the juridic equality of all the dicasteries, and so he decided to use that particular word to level everybody, so to speak.
Everyone's a little fancy.
Yes.
Dicastery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dicastery. So when you say dicastery, and not everybody knows the meaning of that word dicastery.
Yeah.
So you got dicastery or dicastery.
And every time I type it out for an article, spell check tells me it doesn't exist.
There you go. It's a Greek word. It was imported. So yeah.
Not a bad thing, but every single time it tries to change it to like, anything else. It's like dictionary. Like, what do you want?
It doesn't exist. It exists only in the Vatican.
Come on, spell check. Work with me. Know what I'm doing right now.
That's right.
I'm writing an article about the Vatican. It's going to have several languages in it. It's going to have French. It's going to have Greek. It's going to have Latin.
Absolutely. If you want to sound serious, just put it in Latin or some posh
absolutely.
language.
And then, so then that's the basic breakdown. And then why does it exist? I think a lot of people, these preconceived notions about it being, you talk about it in the opening chapter of your book.
Yes.
That quote from Pope John the 23rd, when he's being interviewed, and the journalist asked how many people work in the Roman Curia, and his response is about half, which is one of my favorite quotes from a pope ever. But that idea of it being lazy, and that idea of it being, I've heard crazy rumors about the Roman Curia over time. It's at odds with the Pope. They're the Illuminati. There's so many different things. Where did that stem from? And it seems like they're just an organization that helps run the church. But where did that all stem from, do you think?
Charlotte, I mean, in the end, they are what they are. Rumors. They're not reality. Sometimes people are frustrated with the way, the pace that the Curia is going, and so they invent stories to show or to express their frustration or to have a go at the Roman Curia. But so I would say that a great percentage of those stories and anecdotes are untrue. Because I've worked there myself, and I still work there. I'm still working there as a priest. And I've seen over the years very, very devout and serious Catholic who dedicate their lives to serving behind the scene the Pope and the Church. Because without these people, the Pope cannot function. Mm-hmm. So they are very dedicated. And like every other human person, every other Christian, they go through the whole thing of humanity, sin, and grace. Mm-hmm. But they dedicate their lives to working behind the scene most of the time, because most of what we do are hidden. They're not public. So you are behind the scene, you assist the Pope, and that's it. And I've met saints in the Roman Curia who are there, come rain, come sun, they're there working. Quietly, discreetly, without making any noise. And I think when I was in the Secretariat of State, I developed a deep devotion to St. Joseph, because I see St. Joseph as that discreet figure in the whole salvific, the story of salvation. I'm sure God would have found other ways to let his son be born. But God needed his yes, as well as Mary's yes as well, for this to happen. But he always took the second position to let the Lord shine. And so I developed a deep devotion to him when I was in the Secretariat of State, because most of what we do is hidden. So I think the rumors are really unfounded. And some of it is also connected to the Italian culture. Yeah. So where people say, you have siesta in Italy, and then it's worse in the Vatican. People work for 2 hours in the morning and then slack off to lunch and then turn up in the evening. So it's most of it is untrue. But what you have to know is that the Curia cannot be a stumbling block for the Pope, because it's an instrument that assists the Pope. Mm-hmm. So the power that it uses or exercises, it derives from the Pope. Right. So the Pope can say, I don't want to use
Yeah.
I don't need your assistance.
Yeah.
And I think if you read Predicate Evangelium, it says that the Roman Curia is an institution that the Pope he uses chief, but it doesn't mean that he has to limit himself. The Pope can decide to use, and Pope Francis did that during his pontificate. You know, the C9 cardinals, which wasn't really part of the Roman Curia per se, but the Pope established that group and they used them a lot. But initially what we had was what could be called the Curia of persons, as opposed to Curia as we have it today. So we are, Pope's nephews and family members were also involved in running the church, so to speak. But it wasn't until Pope Sixtus V became Pope that he was the first Pope to establish the first Roman Curia, what we know today as Roman Curia in the 1500s. So they not only assist the Pope in running the universal church, they also assist him in maintaining and running papal states. So that's why in those days you have the Congregation for Water or something.
Right.
So you look at this and say, okay.
Sewers.
Yeah, that's right. Sewers. Exactly.
I think that people underestimate how much there is to take care of, because when they think of the Pope, they think of him just as a spiritual leader. And so they go like, why would he need a group of people to help him? But then you remember, he's running, essentially a country with citizens in every single country in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we have some of the largest missions in the world, some of the largest charitable missions in the world are Catholic and from the church. And we have missions in almost every single country in the world. Yeah. And the Pope is personally responsible for a lot of that.
Absolutely.
And so it makes sense that he needs a team. I'm surprised it's not larger now that I think about it, because I don't know how in the world you keep track of everything going on. And nuncios in how many countries? It's like 180
something.
80 something.
Yeah.
That's a lot to keep track of. And he used to have the papal states.
Like yourself, I was also amazed to see the number of people who work in the Curia. And I was like, oh, okay. But the thing is, a good number of those who work in the Curia are priests or really serious Catholics. And I think they do it from the point of view of faith. So if money is important, and they paid well, but I don't think they do it chiefly for money. Like for priests, you wouldn't do it for money. We see it as part of pastoral ministry. Yeah. So if we were to be paid in a professional way, I don't think the Holy See would afford it. Yeah. Especially the hours that we put in. So
absolutely.
It's just like a priest in a parish. So you are 24 hours on. So you can't say everything is closed. I'm sorry, it's 6 p.m. in the morning. And then you have 6 p.m. in the evening, and then you have a sick call, and you said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm closed for the day.
That's overtime.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, can't give last rites.
No.
Sorry.
No,
you
have
to hold off there.
As a priest, you have to.
Yeah, you have to go.
You have to go. And I experienced this in my, just shortly after ordination, in my first parish at Surfers Paradise in Brisbane, where I was on a call that evening. So I got a call at 12 to go to the hospital for someone to anoint someone who was about to die. And then again at 2, again at 4, and then again at 6. And I was to celebrate the 7 o'clock mass in the parish that month. So it was the first baptism of fire I had.
That was a little gift.
Well, that's right. I said, what have I done to deserve this? And it was bucketing with rain. I didn't mention that. So but to be there in hospital where someone is about to die and the whole family is gathered, and even when you don't say anything, it's amazing. And some of them are still in contact just because of that single experience of you being there, that gift of presence, praying with them at the most important moment of their life. Maybe their grandmother or their mother was about to die, and there you come, and sometimes you don't need to say anything. But the fact that you are there from the parish representing God, so to speak, and you are there, and you are For me, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And same too, like when people write the Pope and get a letter back from the Pope, someone has to make it happen.
Yeah.
So that pastoral care of people, even the most, people in most remote part of the world,
Yeah.
they get a letter signed by the Pope expressing his spiritual closeness. That's huge. It's a huge pastoral care.
Yeah, especially in those moments of real difficulty.
Yes.
Like at the deathbed of a loved one.
Yeah.
Or, for a letter from the Pope, the Pope caring about people in war zones. And there are a lot of Christians around the world that are in those, conflict zones.
Yes.
And, having a Pope who's thinking about you and praying about you so much. And constantly speaking about his desire to be with you and his desire to be united with you. It's just being there for the person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what do we do in those situations, though, where we don't have diplomatic ties? What do you do in situations with that? What's the process like there in the countries where we don't? Because we're 180 some, which is a good number. But we do have a few that we're not.
Yeah, we're not. But there is some kind of relationship, especially when human beings are involved, or in a special situation when there's a national day celebration or something. The Holy See can also send a very modest message expressing the Holy See's best wishes to them, even if we don't have any diplomatic relations. So there are little things that we do to open the door for discussion, for deepening of our relationship. But we work chiefly with the bishops. So if there's an ecclesial celebration, like someone from a country is made cardinal, for instance, and the government, wants to receive him or something, so that could be a first step.
Right.
So there are some little engagements, little things that we do in hope that there will be a fuller diplomatic relations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we don't just close the door.
Yeah, that's sort of the focus consistently. I know Pope Leo just had, I think it was the Russian, I'm forgetting his name. They just had a meeting between one of the Russian archbishops, I think.
Yes.
And I know that relationship has been complicated, and then there's relationships similar to that in several countries throughout the world where you have Catholics in that country and you want to be able to have representatives there for the Catholics in that country. But then there's this problem of dialogue and this problem of diplomacy that you're trying to overcome, and you're trying to make sure that conversation continues on. I think Francis focused on this probably more than, he really was more like a missionary pope. And
I think that was the key word for his Curia reform. And the first word, predicate evangelium, preach the gospel, preach the gospel. He wants to make the Curia more missionary, so that people can hear and see and feel the good news, the soothing good news of Christ. So it's not just a bureaucracy. It is there to bring the good news to everybody. Not just Catholic, though. Anything that poses as an obstacle to people having life and having it in abundance, the Holy See tries to remove that. And it's not an easy work. So it requires prayer, it requires hard work, it requires dialogue, it requires patience. And above all, it requires a total openness to the Spirit. Because without the Spirit, we have no hope of making any progress.
Yeah, when you, and are working at the Secretariat of State and helping with these, international affairs and diplomatic affairs, have you seen that over time we have become more missionary focused? Do you think that was that we have more so expanded? The church has always been universal, of course, but have you seen that focus, that call that Francis had?
Absolutely. And I see that even more so in the Dicastery where I work now, where bishops come and they realize that there's also a change in mentality. Because in the past, they're just told what to do. But now when they come, we say, welcome, how can we help you? So that's the missionary approach, to not say, I know it all, or I see what you see, but I see more. We have this esoteric and Gnostic knowledge that nobody has. So we tell you what to do. If we need your opinion, we'll tell you what it is. So for now, just pray, pay, and obey. Yeah. No. So I think now we've got a lot of feedback from people, from bishops especially, who say, wow, the Curia has changed. Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with the personality and style of Pope Francis, which Pope Leo has continued. Yeah. That openness to dialogue, to synodality, to collegiality, to say, I see what you see, but let me share what I see, and perhaps together we can see more into who we are as a church, into the future, So it's not just that I'm the boss and you are just there to follow my direction. No. So now being missionary means that we bring the good news. We see others as companions on the journey. And that's what synodality means, walking together in the light of Christ. Yeah. So that has changed. In every dicastery, most bishops have said that there's a huge change of mentality and way of doing things. So the Curia has become, it was also there, especially in Pastor Bonus. Say paragraph, the introductory part, where Pope John Paul II talked about the missionary aspect of the Curia. But what Francis has done is that he's used it as the lens through which he sees what the Roman Curia should do. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, it's not just one of the many things that are treated in a document. He sees it as the key word, the point of departure, and that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it has shifted. That was just part of his reforms for, the Curia as a whole. And you talk about this in your book, but he went through and he did, restructuring and organization, renaming, which we talked about already. And then one of the other things he did was that, I don't know if that was a historical change, or if it was just pointing out something that had already existed, but that any person could lead a dicastery so long as they were spiritually, emotionally, and physically capable. That change happened, and then there's quite a bit of backlash, and there's been, quite a bit of confusion about what that means. Because I also think at the same time that happened, when he changed the word dicastery, no one really knew what a dicastery was. So he went, women can be a prefect of a dicastery. And everyone's like, what does that even mean? There was so much confusion around it. But do you think that over time that's, going to become more normal and more regular? Or do you think it's, still going to be a confusing thing and we've got some room ahead of us as far as dialogue goes?
I think it will. So far, it's been really good. I don't see any reason why we should go back to what used to be the status quo, because in my dicastery, for instance, we have a secretary, Sister Alessandra Smerilli, who is a woman, who is a religious, a nun, who is a secretary, and I'm a priest under secretary, and we work very well. So it's not about me or about us. It's about Christ. It's about assisting the Pope in moving things forward. And I think once we understand that, every other thing, because the power that the Curia exercises is a vicarious power from the Pope. Now, when you talk about vicarious power and the whole issue of power of governance, as a canon lawyer, I won't bore you with that. So it would. I don't think it would be necessary, but it's still a perennial problem. When you talk about what we call the power of governance or the jurisdictional power, and the exercise and the possibility of lay people exercising that power,
Right.
it's all complicated, and Predicate Evangelium hasn't really resolved it. But I think, like as it was stated in Predicate Evangelium, in certain situations, like the Dicastery for Laity, Family, and Life, a layperson is the secretary. A layperson could be the prefect. And there is no way it is written that a prefect must be a cardinal. So now I think it has also helped us to realize that the title prefect is not necessarily tied to someone, to someone being a cardinal or not, because we have a prefect of for the Dicastery of the prefect of the Dicastery for Communication, I think, who is a layperson.
Yeah, it's a journalist, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think it's kind of, because in the past, like almost every prefect or president or whatever title they give them is seen to be a cardinal.
As far as I understand how it was originally created, it wasn't clerical by nature. It perhaps was clerical by happenstance almost.
Yeah.
Because the court of the Pope, of course, is going to be made up predominantly of cardinals and priests and things of that sort.
Yeah. And also because priests who are celibate, they have there's a possibility of them giving more time, as opposed to someone who is married with kids.
Yeah.
So it would make more sense for them to work in the Curia and give 100% of their time to the service of the Holy See. I think it was Pope Paul VI who tried to emphasize that spiritual aspect, and even came up with the standards, what you could call the professional standards for those who work in the Curia, and to emphasize that the Curia is a spiritual reality. It's there to assist the Pope in carrying out his spiritual mission. So that aspect cannot be downplayed or relegated to the background. That's why we are encouraged to also do retreats, both as priests and lay people. So we have retreats for all the Curia heads of various Curial bodies, but the Curia was established, came out because the Pope needed people. So practically that was the main issue. He can't do everything. He needed people's assistance. And then as the Curia expanded, more people are needed. Again, Pope Paul VI tried to internationalize the Roman Curia, because before then it was chiefly an Italian operation. But the Pope said, if we are Catholic and if we want to take seriously what our Catholicity, we have to engage people from other cultures, from other countries. And he was the first Pope to internationalize the Curia deliberately, to choose people from different parts of the world who are experts in this or that or the other. Yes, but the Curia has changed over the years as well. So Pope Leo may decide to tweak Predicate Evangelium, depending, because the Curia has to operate according to the Pope's vision, particular mission. Like the Pope Francis gave a lot of emphasis to charity, to issues concerning integral human development, like migrants and refugees. And that's why we saw ourselves as the most implicated dicastery during Pope Francis's papacy, and also Pope Leo's, because he's always talking about peace. So we say, well, we are going to be
busy.
Getting a lot of, we're going to be busy. So.
Take that retreat now.
Yeah. You reckon? Okay. I'll follow your advice.
Because I think about what Pope Leo's focuses have been, but it did seem like everything just sort of went like immediate change. And so it makes sense that it's the focus of his papacy thus far. It's just for human happiness, for human flourishment, we need peace.
And I think these are his first words, which when I say his first words, they're words of the resurrected Christ. The first words that were found on Christ's lips after his resurrection was, "Peace be with you." That nothing can take away from you. And I said, "Peace I give to you, my peace I give to you." And to see Pope Leo appear at the window, and the first words he uttered as Pope was, "Peace be with you," repeating the words of the resurrected Christ. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's such an inheritance that he gained as well. I think he's, as an Augustinian, he's so in touch with the historical aspect of the church, the spiritual aspect of the church, so many different things.
He's a canon lawyer as well.
Yes, well. So
as I say, canon lawyers, canon law is the dark side of the gospel. Many people say so. I don't believe that, but anyhow.
Do people say that?
when you want to have a dig at us, they say, well, just
canon
know that
lawyers? I've always appreciated a good canon lawyer.
Oh, there you go. So
maybe I'm on the dark side of the gospel, though. I don't know.
I don't think so, Charlotte.
Well, because the I've always thought of it sort of as like the logical, like the missionaries to me, or the perhaps the like they represent the emotional outreach, right? The personal, and that's not to say that both can't have it, but the logical and the emotional coexist within the truth, right? You need to have the love and the truth, right? These are universal things we believe in, and absolutely. God is all of those things. So canon lawyers pursuing truth, I don't think that there's anything bad about that.
Absolutely.
They're just looking at it from a logical perspective.
Absolutely.
But then again, I've been told that I'm far too logical and emotionless, so perhaps maybe I'm one.
No, I totally agree with you, and I also think many years ago I wrote an article on the relationship between faith and law, because I said there's a deep connection between the sense of the faith of the faithful and the sense of law, and we see this even in the Bible. After the liberation of the Israelites, people of ancient Israel, from the land of slavery in Egypt, they crossed the Red Sea and everything, and they were kind of wondering, wow, look at what God has done for us. This God who's fallen in love with us and has delivered us from the hand of Pharaoh and all of that. And then they've entered into a new relationship with God, but they wanted to pass that on to the next generation. And what's the way to do it? They have to establish rules that would help people not to. And this is where I see law as something that's liberating. It's not meant to frustrate us. It's meant to guide our relationship. And of course, the supreme law is love. And that's why also in canon law, we said that the supreme law is the salvation of souls. When faith is totally divorced from when law is totally divorced from faith, and when you give it a legalistic interpretation. When you take out the love. So, and that's why in canon law we have exceptions. We have situations where, like, if someone is dying, we call it periculum mortis. It's not Catholic, wants to be baptized, or to receive the last rites. They want it. You have to administer. You don't care about if the person is not Catholic or excommunicated or something. So because the salvation of souls is very important.
I think it's so interesting because I think that I come from America. We're Protestant by culture, probably. And the issue of sola fide was that it sort of separated the idea of faith and then anything rule-bound, right? I don't think it did it on purpose necessarily even. I think it just developed that way over time. And so you have the idea of faith being either lawless or completely law-bound. And either God is a very angry principal or school teacher who is just watching you, waiting for you to mess up, or God is like totally oblivious and he doesn't participate at all with you, and like you're doing your own thing, and the only way you need to participate with him is to just say like, I believe in you, and that's it. That's your relationship with God, and there's nothing else that's required, or there's no other depth that you can go to with God. And it's so funny because I think when people think of like a canon lawyer, they're thinking of that angry school teacher. And that's not the experience. It's like a routine. I think about like, as humans, whether or not you believe in God or anything of the sort, to find happiness in your life and to get fulfillment, most psychologists, most people follow routines in their life. They recognize waking up at a certain time gives them the clarity they need to work on their day. Okay, when I eat healthy food, I find I am physically more capable. The limitation gives you more capacity. And so law is not, don't do this because I'm angry at you and I want to make sure that I control what you do. It's, if you do these things, your potential is increased. So if you follow these moral guidelines, the potential of love is much greater. Your happiness is much greater. Your relationship with God deepens. But that Protestant problem is so serious in the States, and it's very difficult to explain a different idea of freedom and a different idea of law from that sort of tisk 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 or like hands-off approach.
Absolutely, yeah. And another aspect, to point to add to what you've said is if because for some people, when they talk about the priesthood, they think, oh well, you must have some supernatural powers to be able to lead this life. No, I said it's like falling in love and faith. What is faith? Faith is just that loving yes we say to God. God reaches out to us in grace. God gives grace for us to do certain things that could be considered extraordinary, to be peaceful, to forgive. And for instance, to forgive is not easy. And that's why we say to err is human, to forgive is divine. I want to be in a parish to work in a parish. This is my dream. If I was ever asked, what would you want to do?
Yeah.
I'd like to work in a parish and to teach.
Yeah.
But see, the God that leaves you where you feel very comfortable is not a true God.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a tin pot God that you concocted for yourself.
Yeah.
So because the God.
Do you think when people are looking at their vocations in life, do you think they should look for somewhere where they have room for growth? I always wonder about this as someone who's discerning themselves. Is it the area where you have the most, should you feel uncomfortable in your discernment? Should you be a little uncomfortable? Or should you, where it's most easy? Like, I always want to weigh those. Like, how do you know what's the right way to go?
Well, I think there is no salvation straitjacket for everybody. Each of us, we are all unique in God's eyes, and He meets us where we are. But the relationship we have with God, or grace, sometimes is not meant to be a pill that you pop and it kind of dumbs down the pain. No.
Right.
No, grace can be quite dislocating and painful. And in Australia, I remember Archbishop Mark Coleridge, when I was his secretary for 4.5 years before I came to Rome, when they had a royal commission of inquiry into sexual abuse of institutional abuse of minors. So the Catholic Church was under fire at the time. He said that the royal commission is grace.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? It means that it's a moment of good grace. God is trying to dislocate the Australian church to make it purer. And it depends on the person. You don't sometimes look for put yourself in a situation that's discomforting, so to speak. But I think the most important thing is to place your hand on your heart and say, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
This is my my vocation. I find joy in it. And for me as a priest, I mean, I had that calling when I was an altar server when I was 12, because I lived with my grandparents before I entered the minor seminary. So we used to go to mass every morning, and I would serve at mass. And what really touched me at the time was the fact that priests were always present at the most important moments of people's life. So I said to myself, I would want to share in this way. I would want to spend my life in this way. But there are some other secondary things. Like I thought, oh, well, I would be in my comfort zone and everything. But even when I was sent to Australia to study and to be ordained, I still had that culture shock and everything, but that deep calling was there.
Yeah.
That deep conviction that I want to be a priest wherever I was there. And same, it's like falling in love. You fall in love with somebody. You say, well, I don't know why I love this person, but it's just the way it is. The fact that he is a lawyer or a journalist or something is good.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Fine.
Yeah, fun. But but I just love this person. And then there will be trials. It's not going to be a bed of roses. You're not going to spend. I mean, as a priest,
he has bad breath.
Yeah, absolutely. Or snores at night. So minor details, but anyhow, let's.
Okay, so I was going to ask, during your whole time in the Curia, do you ever find roles within the Curia that you're like, well, what does that role do? Do you ever are you ever surprised?
Yeah, the papal theologian, people don't know what a papal theologian, or that the Pope even has a papal theologian.
What is a papal theologian?
Well, the papal theologian is a very discreet and ancient position. And what he does is that he offers theological advice to the Pope. He reviews some of the papal speeches from a theological point of view. And I think at the moment we have a Dominican in that role. But it's a very discreet role. So nobody talks about him.
He's just checking.
But he's there. So he's there.
That's great. So, I'm happy to hear that.
So there you go. So you have a papal theologian who's in the Secretariat of State who looks at everything, offers theological advice to the Pope. Then you also have the devil's advocate, for instance, in the Dicastery for the causes of the saints. So if someone is being, after a very holy life, you live to your very ripe old age, a saintly life, and said, well, Charlotte has to become a saint. So anyhow, so now there's usually someone who is promoting your course, who is writing your life story and everything. And then you also have a devil's advocate, someone who says, no, I don't think he should be canonized, because when he used to work for Rome Reports, he wasn't nice. He wasn't nice to people. He had a very, very heated argument with one of his colleagues. We can't make someone who, Now the devil's advocate's role is to force those who are involved in the in the investigation or examination of things to be more rigorous.
Yes.
Because this is a serious, serious task. Because you are setting this person up as a model that people can follow. Yeah. To they can adopt the way he heard the gospel, the way he modeled his life to Christ, to be to become like him and to gain salvation. Right. So it's serious. So now many people don't know that there's such thing, devil's advocate. So to kind of say,
well, that's good though.
So there you are.
You always want that. I mean, God forbid they find out, after the fact that you were mean to your coworkers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, how did we make her saint?
Yeah.
Too little.
She was so mean.
So what?
No, it's a good thing. That makes sense. I'm always curious about the process of canonization, because since moving to Rome, I've seen a lot of it firsthand, and I've sat in on a lot more conferences. I sat in on one for Lejeune, whose cause is very popular right now, and I sat in on a couple others, and
Carlos Acutis.
yes, Carlos Acutis and Pier Giorgio Frassati, and
yeah.
all these coming to the Canada, but they all go through different processes.
Yes.
Who do you know who ultimately decides?
The Pope.
Yeah.
At the canonization, that's what canonization is all about. The Pope
He's
makes
the final.
there's a text that is read, and that's the proclamation on behalf of the church. It's a definitive statement. So the Pope says, we are recognizing these people as models for sainthood.
Yeah.
So they are saints. So you can actually model your life to them.
Wow. And so he says the devil's advocate.
No, before it gets to the Pope.
Yeah.
Of course, the Pope decides at consistories, which is the gathering of cardinals, where he kind of makes the proclamation that these people will be canonized or beatified.
Right.
But then on the day of canonization, it's he says a certain prayer, a certain proclamation that make them saints.
Right.
Because you can't say Saint Carlos Acutis now, no.
Right.
But when he's canonized, then it's Blessed Carlos Acutis.
Right.
But he becomes a saint, and his name can be added to the litany of the saints.
Yeah.
You see, so it's a serious proclamation.
Yeah.
So so the devil's advocate makes sure that there is nothing that we should be worried about the life of this person.
Yeah. And that's way before in the process.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When it's being considered, because you have the examination at the diocesan level, and then it goes to the dicastery. It's very complicated. It takes years, eh?
Yeah.
It does take years. Although for martyrs, things are usually different.
So
martyrs are people who die.
Yeah.
As a result of their faith. Yeah.
So that's how she was mean, but she died. So
a martyr.
Yeah.
She had her head chopped off like Paul.
Yes. Roasted over an open flame. What was it, St. Lawrence?
Yeah.
Turn me over, I'm done on this side.
That's right. Oh, Peter, crucify me upside down.
Yeah, upside down.
Yeah. Or Paul, whose head was chopped. They wanted to wanted to shut him up because they couldn't stop him from talking.
Yeah.
But we're still talking about him 2,000 years later.
Yeah. That's probably how.
So he's kind of a loser who won, you know. So there you go. That's the mystery of life.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. Well, to wrap up our Pete's Sake podcast, thank you for coming on, Monsignor. Here is our rapid fire round. Question number 1. Favorite Pope of all time?
Francis.
Nice. Easy. Well, and he's great. Easy. Question number 2, an underrated saint.
Anthony.
Is that cheating because it's your namesake?
No, I think people see him as mainly the finder of lost things. Like if you're looking for something.
Yeah.
But I see him as he was a great preacher, and I pray to Saint Anthony if I have a serious liturgical celebration to celebrate, I pray to him because he was a fantastic preacher, you know, and this aspect is kind of downplayed. And so that if people are looking for their money or wallet or something, no, that's so not banal, but it's he was a great preacher, and I pray to him if I have a funeral or a speech or whatever to make, I ask for his intercession.
That's a great one. I have to keep that in mind because I have been using him for lost items mostly.
No. You could if you have a very difficult interview to have, just say, help me get the right words. And
next time I have Monsignor on.
There you go.
Favorite fact about the Vatican that you're allowed to tell me?
Oh, that's a tough one. Favorite fact about the Vatican is that we have the Vatican Post. Yeah, because everything in the Vatican is very like apostolic palace. It's all highfalutin, but then the Vatican Post Office doesn't sound, like it's.
It's just a mailman.
Yeah, that's right, the mailman.
It's like, hey, I'm Jerry.
So you have the apostolic palace, the Sala Regia, all these very highfalutin names and everything, and But then the Vatican Post is...
Yeah. Vatican Post, and it's just like square.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. I love it. Most Catholic country, in your opinion?
People say it's Brazil, and I believe that.
Oh.
I believe that.
Okay.
Brazil is because they've got a huge number of Catholics, and then many dioceses and bishops.
Yeah.
So they're big. But in Africa, it's Congo and Nigeria. But I don't want to sound,
You're like, I'm not going to get into that war.
I'm not going to get into that
I'm not
politics.
getting involved
But
between Congo and Nigeria.
But looking at the facts on the ground, it's Brazil, and I believe that. I go with that. Yes.
You're just sticking to the numbers.
Absolutely.
It's a good move. Let's not get too in the weeds there.
No.
All right, and then finally, thank you again, Monsignor, for coming on. Finish this sentence. For Pete's sake, I wish people would
love God with all their hearts.
It's a great way to end the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on
Sharon.
again.
Thank you, Sharon.
This has been For Pete's Sake, the podcast. Join us again next time, and if you liked this video, feel free to like and subscribe.